If you watched Nickelodeon back in the mid-2000s, then you might remember a uniquely animated cartoon that parodied Japanese anime, called Kappa Mikey. The show itself was and is still pretty obscure, only having a 2-year run on TV and a couple DVD releases which lack the entire series. But something much more mysterious than the series as a whole is the little known yet incredibly rare pitch pilot still shrouded in so much mystery. Kappa Mikey was not originally going to air on Nickelodeon. Instead, its original vision was a much more adult-oriented comedy to be aired on MTV. In light of this, Animation Collective pitched the idea of the show to MTV in 2004, where it was then greenlit and a pilot for the series was ordered and created. Sometime in between the pilot being created in 2004 and then the show's Nickelodeon premiere in 2006, MTV decided to drop all plans to air the series, which is when Nickelodeon picked it up and it was turned into a kids cartoon from that point onward. So naturally, people have become curious as to what this original MTV pitch pilot looked like and how it was different from the Nickelodeon version. There were a couple screenshots available from various press releases which showcase different character designs and a recollection from a former Animation Collective employee stating that it also had a different animation style and a pop rap soundtrack. At this point, I'm sure you're asking yourself, why can't you just check out the pilot on YouTube and see the differences for yourself? Well, that's because the entire pilot is currently lost. And when I say lost, I mean really lost. In most cases of lost cartoon pilots, they're not available online anywhere to begin with, so that means going to the creators and producers of the show to inquire about releasing a copy. Amidst the unfortunate reality of Animation Collective no longer being a company, several employees who were either at Animation Collective in 2004 or who worked on early seasons of the show provided little to no information regarding the pilot when I asked them about it. However, I dug a little bit deeper and was actually able to contact two key people in the pilot's creation. The first one was the show's creator himself, Larry Schwartz. I thought that if anyone was to have the pilot, it would be him. Nevertheless, one tweet later he informs me that he lacks a copy, although he acknowledges that it's been missing for years. While I wasn't expecting that lead to end so soon, I had another contact named John Catapano who specifically cited work on the pilot in his resume. I thought if there was anyone to have a copy of this pilot, it would be someone who actually worked on it directly, in case they ever needed it. Though much to my dismay, he claims he doesn't have a copy of it and provides no further leads to follow. After a grueling cycle of dead leads and drained ambitions, there was one contact who eluded me from the very beginning, and that was the director of the entire series. In one last attempt to get this pilot found, I went through numerous different websites before I was able to get in touch with him. And now this is where things really get interesting. After inquiring about the pilot and giving him the whole summary of my adventure, he seemed to know exactly what I was talking about, and a few weeks later, he did find an incomplete version, although he would continue searching for a more complete file. While this was great news, there was actually a complication with releasing the pilot in the first place. He informed me that 5 years ago, the Animation Collective brand was sold to a company called Handmade Films, which included all licensed properties, that of course being Kappa Mikey. He said he sent them an email inquiring about getting permission to release it, though also stating he might upload it anyway if they didn't get back to him. Regardless, as months passed, I continued inquiring about the permission and whether or not he was successful in finding a complete version. Ultimately, I never found out directly if he was successful in any regard, because he stopped replying to my messages, although I think I figured out why. The very first episode of Kappa Mikey is titled The Lost Pilot. So what I think happened is when I initially contacted the director asking for a lost pilot, he either confused or disregarded the MTV part and thought I was looking for episode 1. This would explain why the director stopped contacting me, as my messages wouldn't have made sense in regards to the Nicktoons episode. And that was really my last hope in trying to track down this pilot. As if not being able to find it is strange enough, earlier in the video I mentioned a former Animation Collective employee who saw the pilot and recalled some details from it. His name is Andrew Kaiko, and according to his resume, he worked on Kappa Mikey at Animation Collective from 2006 to 2008. He probably watched the pilot as a reference for his work on the main show in 2006. Point being, 2006 was the last documented time it was available to anyone, and that was over 10 years ago, while the show was just entering production. That's absolutely crazy to think about. And considering all that I've uncovered and learned about this pilot, I honestly believe at this point that there's an incredibly high chance that it's gone, erased from the portfolios of the cast and crew once production of the show ended in 2008, never to be found again. On a positive note though, there could be a very small chance that some random unknown animation collective or Kappa Mikey employee that I haven't been able to contact yet might have it, or when Handmade Films bought the license, the pilot for some reason could have been grouped in with all the other Kappa Mikey assets they now own. A third possibility is if for some reason the MTV development executives that were listed with the original press release got review copies and still have them, so maybe with a more intense search effort, the pilot will show itself within time, but that remains to be seen. So until the MTV Kappa Mikey pilot is found, it'll definitely remain a mystery.